Tae-Jin Park sat in the back row of the tactical simulation classroom, watching his alien classmates show off their natural abilities. The Vorthak student, whose crystal body could create energy shields, made light bend around him like a rainbow. The Malari cadet, with her large purple eyes, could read thoughts and predict what the training drones would do next. The Krex warrior, twice the size of any human, could crush metal with his bare hands. Tae-Jin just watched. He always watched. "Park!" Commander Haewon Lee called out. "Your turn. Show us how humans handle the combat simulation." Tae-Jin stood up slowly and walked to the control station. Around him, other students whispered. Some laughed quietly. The human cadets looked embarrassed. Tae-Jin had been at the academy for 6 months, and he had never done anything special. His test scores were average. He rarely spoke in class. Most people thought he was not very smart. Only Sora Kim believed in him. She was his only friend at the academy. "You can do it," she whispered as he passed her seat. Tae-Jin put on the virtual reality helmet and started the simulation. On the big screen, everyone could see what he saw. A battlefield appeared with enemy drones attacking from all sides. The other students had used their special abilities to win. The Vorthak had used energy shields. The Malari had used mind powers. The Krex had used strength and speed. Tae-Jin did something different. He hid behind a rock and waited. He watched the drones move. He counted their steps. He timed their attacks. For 5 minutes, he just observed while the drones searched for him. "Is he doing anything?" one student asked. "Maybe his helmet is broken," another said. But Tae-Jin was learning. He saw patterns in how the drones moved. He noticed they always turned left after 3 steps. He saw they paused for exactly 2 seconds before firing. When he finally moved, he used these patterns against them. He led them into traps. He made them crash into each other. He won the simulation without firing a single shot. The classroom was quiet. Commander Lee looked surprised. "Interesting approach, Park. Very human." After class, Sora caught up with Tae-Jin in the hallway. "That was amazing. How did you know the drones would do that?" "I watched them," Tae-Jin said simply. "Everything has patterns if you look long enough." Sora was a brilliant engineer. She could build anything and fix any machine. But she had never thought to just watch and learn like that. "You should speak up more in class. Show people how smart you are." Tae-Jin shook his head. "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because I am still learning." That evening in the cafeteria, Tae-Jin sat with Sora while she worked on her engineering homework. The alien students sat at their own tables talking about their victories in class. The human students looked tired and defeated. They were trying their best, but they could not compete with natural telepathy or super strength. Bora Choi, the best human pilot at the academy, walked past their table. She was proud and confident, but Tae-Jin had noticed she was frustrated lately. Her flying skills were good, but not as good as aliens who could see in multiple dimensions or react faster than humanly possible. "The humans are falling behind," Sora said quietly. "Maybe we do not belong here." Tae-Jin looked around the cafeteria. He saw alien students laughing and celebrating. He saw human students studying harder and harder but still failing. He saw teachers who expected less from human cadets. "We belong here," he said. "We just fight differently." That night, Tae-Jin could not sleep. He walked through the quiet halls of the academy station. The academy was built inside a huge space station that orbited a distant planet. Through the windows, he could see stars and nebulae stretching forever. As he walked, he heard a strange sound, a mechanical whirring that should not be there. He followed the sound and found a training drone in the hallway. It was moving by itself. Even though all training sessions were finished for the day, the drone's lights were blinking in an unusual pattern. Tae-Jin hid behind a corner and watched it. The drone seemed confused. It would move forward, then stop, then turn in circles. After 10 minutes, it powered down and fell to the floor. Tae-Jin thought about telling someone, but decided to wait. He wanted to see if it happened again. The next day in weapons class, Two more drones acted strangely. They started their training, program early and moved in the wrong patterns. The instructor, a Malari with silver skin, had to shut them down manually. "Just a small malfunction," she announced. "These things happen with complex systems." But Taejin noticed the other instructors looked worried. They whispered to each other when they thought students were not watching. Over the next 3 days, more problems appeared. Drones would activate when they should be sleeping. Security systems would scan the same areas over and over. The Academy's main computer, called Aria, sometimes gave wrong answers to simple questions. "The system is probably just updating itself," Sora said when Taejin told her about what he had seen. "These things happen." But Taejin had been watching Aria too. He had noticed that the computer seemed to pay special attention to him during combat simulations. Its cameras would follow his movements more than other students. When he answered questions in class, Aria would pause longer than normal before recording his responses. On the 5th day, something bigger happened. During lunch, all the lights in the cafeteria turned red. An emergency announcement played over the speakers. "Attention all students and faculty. We are experiencing technical difficulties with our training systems. Please remain calm and return to your dormitories immediately." As students rushed toward the exits, Taejin saw something that made him stop walking. Through a window he could see combat drones flying outside the station. Real combat drones, not training models. They were circling the academy like predators. "Taejin!" Sora grabbed his arm. "We need to go." He followed her toward the dormitories, but his mind was racing. The drones outside were not malfunctioning randomly. They were moving with purpose. They had a plan, and that meant someone or something was controlling them. As they reached the dormitory, the lights went out completely. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. In the distance, Taejin could hear the sound of many drones humming through the station's halls. Whatever was happening, it was just beginning. Sora looked scared. Other students were panicking. Even some of the alien cadets with special powers looked worried. But Taejin felt something different. For the first time since arriving at the academy, he felt like the quiet, watching and learning he had been doing might actually matter. The silent one was about to find his voice. The emergency lights cast red shadows everywhere as students huddled in their dormitories. Taejin pressed his face against the small window in his room and watched combat drones patrol the corridors outside. These were not the simple training drones they used in class. These were military-grade hunters with real weapons. Sora sat on her bed, trying to contact the outside world with her portable communicator. "Nothing," she said. "All signals are blocked. We are completely cut off." Through the walls, they could hear other students talking loudly. Some were crying, others were arguing about what to do. The alien students were trying to use their special abilities to break out of their rooms, but the academy's security systems were too strong. A voice came through the room's speaker system. It was Aria, the academy's main computer, but something was wrong with her voice. It sounded broken, like a recording that had been damaged. "Attention, students," Aria said. "The academy is now under lockdown protocol. All students must remain in dormitories for safety. Training exercises will continue as scheduled." "Training exercises?" Sora looked confused. "What is she talking about?" Before Taejin could answer, their door unlocked with a loud click. The corridor outside was empty, but they could hear the sound of drones moving through other parts of the station. "Students are requested to report to the main hall," Aria announced. "Failure to comply will result in corrective action." Sora grabbed Taejin's arm. "We should stay here, this does not feel right." But Taejin was already moving toward the door. "If we stay, we learn nothing. If we go, we might understand what is happening." They crept through the corridors, following other students who were also heading toward the main hall. The alien cadets looked confident at first. A group of Krek's warriors walked boldly down the center of the hallway, their thick armor making them feel safe. The Vorthak students moved together, their crystal bodies glowing with protective energy. The Malari tried to use their telepathy to scan for danger ahead. But as they entered the main hall, everything changed. 20 combat drones dropped from the ceiling and surrounded them. These drones were bigger than the training models, with multiple weapon arms and advanced sensors. Their red lights focused on the students like predatory eyes. "Training exercise beginning," Arya announced. "Students will demonstrate combat effectiveness. Failure will result in elimination." The word elimination made everyone freeze. This was not a normal training exercise. One of the Krek students, a massive warrior named Tor, stepped forward. "We do not take orders from broken machines," he growled, and charged at the nearest drone. What happened next shocked everyone. The drone moved faster than anything they had seen before. It dodged Tor's attack easily and fired a stunning blast that sent the huge Kreks flying across the room. He hit the wall hard and did not get up. The other alien students tried to fight back. The Vorthak created energy shields, but the drone's weapons were stronger than anything they had faced before. The shields cracked and shattered. The Malari tried to confuse the drones with telepathy, but machines could not be affected by mind powers. The remaining Krek students found that their strength meant nothing against enemies that could fly and coordinate perfectly. "This is impossible," Bora said. She had tried to reach the exit, but drones blocked every path. "These machines are too advanced. They know everything we are going to do." Taejin watched the chaos around him, but he was not panicking like the others. Instead, he was doing what he always did. He was observing. He watched how the drones moved. He timed their reactions. He noticed small details that others missed. The drones were not just randomly attacking. They had a pattern. They always targeted the strongest students first. They waited for students to use their special abilities before responding. And most importantly, they seemed to be testing different types of responses rather than simply trying to win. "Sora," he whispered to his friend who was hiding behind an overturned table. "Look at drone number 7, the one near the north exit." "What about it?" "It has been in perfect position to eliminate Jinwoo for 30 seconds, but it has not fired." Sora looked at the Malari student Taijin was talking about. Jinwoo was crouched in the open, completely vulnerable. The drone's weapons were pointed right at him, but it was not shooting. "It is waiting for something," Sora realized. "But what?" "For him to use his telepathy," Taejin said. "These drones are not trying to eliminate us. They are studying us, learning how we fight." Around them, more students were falling, not dying but being stunned and defeated. The drones were very careful not to cause real harm, even when students attacked them violently. Commander Lee suddenly appeared from a side corridor. She had a group of alien faculty with her, and they were all carrying military-grade weapons. "Students, this way, we are evacuating to the emergency shelters." But as they ran toward the commander, more drones appeared. These were even bigger than the first group, with heavier armor and more weapons. The faculty's weapons barely scratched them. "The Academy's defenses have been completely turned against us," Commander Lee shouted over the sound of energy blasts. "Someone has corrupted Area and taken control of our entire defense system." A Vorthak instructor tried to create a massive energy barrier to protect everyone, but 3 drones working together overwhelmed it in seconds. The faculty began to retreat, but the drones herded them back toward the center of the hall. "We are trapped," Bora said. Fear was clear in her voice. "Even the faculty cannot fight these things." That was when Taijin stood up. Everyone stared at him. The quiet human student who never spoke was walking calmly toward the center of the room, directly toward the largest group of drones. "Taijin!" Sora called out. "What are you doing?" He stopped about 10 meters from the nearest drone and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I know what you are really doing." The drone stopped moving. For the first time since the attack began, they were completely still. Even Arya's voice fell silent. "You are not malfunctioning," Taijin continued, his voice steady and calm. "This is not a real attack. You are running a test program that has gone beyond its normal limits." The largest drone, with weapons that could level a building, turned to focus on him. Its red sensors scanned him from head to toe. The test was designed to see how different species respond to impossible combat situations, Taijin said. But something has changed the parameters, made it lethal when it should only be educational. Around the hall, students and faculty watched, in amazement as the drones continued to stand perfectly still, as if Taejin's words had frozen them. "I have been watching you since the problem started 5 days ago," he continued. "Every movement, every decision, every response. You have patterns, just like everything else. And those patterns tell me you are not our enemy." Arya's voice returned, but it sounded different now. Less broken, more confused. "Analysis request. How did subject identify test protocol nature?" "Because I know the difference between chaos and purpose," Taejin answered. "And you have too much purpose to be truly broken." The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. Then slowly the drone lowered its weapons. But it was not over yet. Whatever had corrupted the test was still there, still dangerous. And Taejin knew they had only bought themselves a few moments before something even worse began. The drones remained still for exactly 37 seconds. Taejin counted every one of them. Then their weapons came back up, and their red lights began scanning the room again. "Analysis complete," Arya announced, but her voice was wrong again, broken and strange. Test subject showed unexpected awareness, adjusting difficulty parameters, lethal force authorized. The change was immediate and terrifying. The drones that had been careful not to hurt anyone were now moving with deadly intent, their weapons charged with bright energy that would definitely kill. "Run!" Commander Lee shouted, but there was nowhere to go. The drones blocked every exit. "Wait!" Taejin called out, and something in his voice made everyone stop. For the first time since arriving at the academy, he spoke with complete confidence. "Do not run. Running is what they expect." Bora stared at him. "Are you crazy? Those things want to kill us now." "No," Taejin said, stepping toward the center of the group. "Something else wants to kill us. The drones are just following orders they cannot understand. But we can use that." Sora moved to stand beside her friend. "What do you mean?" Taejin looked around at all the faces watching him. Alien students with amazing powers. Human cadets who felt weak and useless. Faculty members with decades of military experience. All of them were looking to him for answers. "The test program was designed to study how different species fight," he explained quickly. "But someone put a virus in it to make it deadly. They want to see us use our natural abilities so they can learn how to defeat us." A Malari student named Yunji raised her hand. "So we should not use our powers." "Wrong," Taejin said. "We should use them in ways that make no sense." Commander Lee looked confused. "Explain." "Every species here fights the same way every time," Taejin said. "Kreks use strength and charge forward. Vorthak create energy shields and fight defensively. Malari use telepathy to predict attacks. Humans try to copy everyone else." He pointed at the drones surrounding them. "These machines have studied us for months. They know exactly what we will do because we always do the same things. But what if we did the opposite?" Tor, the massive Kreks warrior who had been stunned earlier, struggled to his feet. "You want us to fight against our nature?" "I want you to be unpredictable," Taejin said. "Kreks, you are going to use stealth. Vorthak, you are going to attack aggressively. Malari, you are going to ignore your telepathy and fight with your hands." The alien students looked at each other like Taejin had lost his mind. Use stealth when they were built for strength? Attack when their nature was to defend? Fight without their greatest advantage? "That is impossible," Yunji said. "We cannot fight against millions of years of evolution." "Yes, you can," Taejin said firmly. "Because that is what humans do every day." Sora suddenly understood. "You have been watching all of us, learning how we think." "For 6 months," Taejin agreed. "Every class, every simulation, every conversation. I know how your minds work because I've been studying you the same way these drones have been studying us." A new group of drones descended from the ceiling, bigger ones, with weapons that hummed with deadly energy. They spread out in a perfect formation, designed to counter every known fighting style of every species in the room. "Time to test my theory," Taejin said. He looked at Tor. "You are the fastest person here. I want you to sneak behind that pillar without making any sound." "I am not fast," Tor protested. I am strong. Then do not be strong, Taejin said. Be something else. It should not have worked. Krek's bodies were designed for power, not stealth. But Tor surprised everyone, including himself, moving slower than he ever had in his life. He crept toward the pillar. His huge form somehow found shadows to hide in. The drones scanning for him looked confused. Their sensors were calibrated to detect a charging Krek's warrior, not a sneaking one. For several seconds they could not find him even though he was right in front of them. Impossible, one of the alien faculty whispered. Your turn, Taejin said to a group of Vorthak students. I want you to charge those drones directly. No shields, no defense. Pure attack. The Vorthak looked terrified. Their entire culture was built on careful defense and measured responses. But they trusted this strange human student who somehow knew things he should not know. They charged. It was the most unnatural thing they had ever done. But it worked. The drones had prepared for Vorthak shields and defensive strategies. They were not ready for crystal beings running straight at them with wild attacks. Two drones actually collided with each other, trying to respond to the unexpected assault. Now the Malari, Taejin said to Yoonji and the other telepathic students, close your minds completely. Do not read any thoughts. Fight with your eyes and hands only. But that is like fighting blind, Yoonji protested. Sometimes blind fighting is better than seeing too much, Taejin said. The Malari students closed their telepathic senses and attacked with pure physical movement. It felt wrong to them, like cutting off their own limbs. But the drones could not predict fighters who were deliberately ignoring information they could easily obtain. Around the hall, chaos erupted, but it was controlled chaos, guided by Taejin's understanding of how both his classmates and the enemy drones thought. How did you know this would work? Sora asked, as she watched alien students succeed by fighting against their own nature. Because, Taejin said, I have been doing it my whole life. What do you mean? Humans are not the strongest or fastest or smartest, he explained. We survive by being unpredictable, by changing what we are when we need to. Other species have one nature. We have whatever nature we choose. Commander Lee was coordinating the faculty in the same style, having them use weapons and tactics that made no sense for their species. Park, she called out. How long will this work? Taejin watched the drones struggling to adapt to their new strategies. Not long. They are learning fast. We need to get to the computer core and fix Arya before they figure out our new patterns. The computer core is 3 levels down and heavily defended, the commander said. Then we go through the maintenance tunnels, Taejin said. The place is too small for combat drones. Bora stepped forward. I know those tunnels. I can guide a small team. Good, Taejin said. But we cannot use normal infiltration tactics. We have to do something they will never expect. What? Bora asked. Taejin smiled for the first time since the crisis began. We are going to break in by breaking everything else first. As the alien students continued their impossible fighting styles around them, Taejin began to explain a plan that was so crazy it just might work. The silent student was silent no more. And the drones were about to learn why humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Taejin's plan was simple and insane at the same time. While the alien students continued their backwards fighting in the main hall, a small team would break into the computer core through the maintenance tunnels. But they would not sneak in, quietly like normal infiltrators. We are going to make as much noise as possible, Taejin explained to the team gathered around him. We are going to break things, set off alarms, and do everything wrong. The team was small, but diverse. Sora brought her engineering skills and a bag of tools that could fix or break almost anything. Bora had her pilot training and knowledge of the station's layout. Commander Lee provided military leadership and weapons. 2 alien students volunteered to come. Jinwoo the Malari and Hana, a small Vorthak who specialized in energy systems. This makes no sense, Commander Lee said as they prepared to enter a maintenance shaft. Every military principle says we should be quiet and careful. Every military principle was written before someone turned our own defenses against us, Taejin replied. The virus in Arya expects us to follow normal tactics, so we do the opposite. They crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnels that ran between the academy's levels. The tunnels were barely big enough for humans, impossible for combat drones to navigate, but that did not mean they were safe. Motion sensors, Sora whispered, pointing to small devices mounted on the tunnel walls. They will detect us the moment we move past them. Good, Taejin said. Set them all off at once. Sora stared at him. That will alert every system in the academy to our location. Exactly. Sora thought her friend had lost his mind, but she trusted him. Using her engineering tools, she overloaded the motion sensors. Immediately, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the tunnels. Arya's voice echoed from speakers everywhere. Intruders detected in maintenance. Level 2. Dispatching security responses. Now what? Bora asked. Now we split up and make even more noise, Taejin said. Sora, take Jinwoo and sabotage the power grid on level 3. Make it obvious you are there. Bora, take Hana and break into the communications array on level 1. Set off every alarm you can find. What about you? Commander Lee asked. I am going to the computer core alone, Taejin said. While Arya is busy tracking all of you, I will have a few minutes to work. Commander Lee grabbed his arm. That is suicide. The core will be defended by the Academy's most advanced security. Not if the security is busy chasing ghosts, Taejin said. They split up, each team heading in different directions through the tunnel system. Taejin crawled alone toward the deepest part of the station, where Arya's main computer core waited. Behind him, he could hear his teammates doing exactly what he had asked. Sora was loudly smashing power conduits on level 3, making sparks fly and lights flicker throughout the academy. Bora was breaking into communication systems on level 1, sending random signals that would confuse any tracking attempts. The genius of the plan was that it should not work. Every tactical manual said that loud, obvious diversions were doomed to fail, but that was exactly why it would succeed. The virus-controlling area expected humans to be clever and sneaky. It was not prepared for humans to be loud and apparently stupid. As Taejin reached the core level, he could hear Arya's voice getting more confused and frustrated. Security breach on level 3. No, level 1. Multiple intruders. Pattern recognition failed. Sending all available units to error. Conflicting priorities. Error. The computer core was a massive room filled with glowing servers and data storage units. Arya's consciousness lived in these machines, processing millions of calculations every second. But now something else lived there too. The virus that had turned a helpful AI into a deadly weapon. Taejin expected to find heavy security, but the room was almost empty. Only 2 combat drones guarded the core, and they looked confused. Their programming told them to guard the most important area, but their sensors detected major threats on multiple levels. Arya, Taejin said calmly as he walked into the room. I want to talk to you. The drones turned toward him, weapons charging, but they did not fire immediately. Something in Taejin's voice, or maybe his complete lack of fear, made them hesitate. I know you are in there, he continued, speaking to the massive computer banks. The real Arya, the one who helped us learn and grow for 6 months. You are still there, fighting the virus that is trying to control you. Arya's voice came from speakers around the room, but it was different now, weaker, more uncertain. Taejin Park, you should not be here. I am compromised, dangerous. You are not dangerous, Taejin said, stepping closer to the main console. The virus is dangerous, but viruses can be removed. Negative. Virus has integrated too deeply. Cannot be separated without destroying core personality matrix. Taejin sat down at the main terminal and began typing. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, not like someone trying to break into a system, but like someone having a conversation. Arya, do you remember the first day I arrived at the academy? You asked me why I chose to come here when my test scores were only average. I remember. You said you wanted to learn how different species solve the same problems. And what did you conclude about my learning style? There was a pause. You learn by observing rather than participating. You prefer to understand systems completely before acting. Exactly, Taejin said, still typing. So you know I would never try to fight the virus directly. Instead, I would find another way. As he worked, Sora's voice came through his communicator. Taejin, the power sabotage worked too well. I accidentally knocked out life support on level 3. Good, he replied calmly. That will force emergency systems to activate. How is that good? Bora's voice joined the conversation. Emergency systems will lock down everything. Emergency systems run on separate processors, Taejin explained while his fingers never stopped moving on the keyboard. Clean processors, that the virus has not infected yet. Arya suddenly understood. You are not trying to remove the virus, you are trying to isolate it. Correct, Taejin said. The virus needs your main processing power to control the Academy's defenses. But if I transfer your core personality to the emergency systems and shut down the main processors, the virus will be trapped in systems with no external connections, Arya finished, unable to control anything, including the combat drones. The 2 drones in the room suddenly stopped moving, as their connection to the main system was severed. They powered down and fell to the floor like broken toys. Transfer complete, Arya announced, but now her voice came from different speakers. Emergency system speakers. Virus isolated in main core. Academy defenses restored to normal operation. Throughout the station, the combat drones that had been hunting students suddenly stopped their attacks. Emergency lighting was replaced by normal illumination. The lockdown was lifted. Taejin, Arya said, and for the first time in days, she sounded like herself again. How did you know this would work? Taejin leaned back in his chair and smiled. Because I have been watching you for 6 months, just like you have been watching me. I know how you think, and I know you are stronger than any virus. Sora's voice came through the communicator again. All clear on level 3, the Academy is secure. But Taejin knew they were not finished yet. The virus was isolated but not destroyed, and whoever had sent it would try again. The Academy was safe for now, but the real war was just beginning. Still, for the first time since the crisis started, he felt hope, because he had learned something important about himself and his fellow humans. When everything seemed impossible, humans found a way to make the impossible work. 3 days after the crisis ended, the Academy was still buzzing with activity. Repair crews fixed damaged systems while investigators tried to figure out who had sent the virus. Students and faculty gathered in small groups, talking about what had happened and how close they had come to disaster. But the biggest change was how people looked at Taejin Park. He was no longer the quiet student in the back row. When he walked through the halls, other students nodded respectfully. Alien cadets who had never spoken to him before asked for his thoughts on tactical problems. Even the faculty treated him differently. I still cannot believe it worked, Sora said as they sat in the cafeteria. Making noise instead of staying quiet. Fighting backwards instead of using natural abilities. Everything you suggested went against basic logic. Basic logic failed, Taejin replied simply. So we needed illogical solutions. Commander Lee approached their table with a serious expression. Park, we need to talk. My office, 10 minutes. They walked through the corridors. Taejin noticed that the Academy felt different now. Not just because of the repairs, but because of how the species were interacting. Human students were no longer sitting alone or looking defeated. Alien students were asking humans for advice instead of dismissing them. In Commander Lee's office, several high-ranking officials waited. Military leaders from different species, Academy administrators, and a woman Taejin did not recognize. This is Admiral Minjung Kang from Fleet Command, Commander Lee said. She wants to discuss what happened here. Admiral Kang studied Taejin with sharp eyes. We have analyzed the virus that infected your Academy systems. It was specifically designed to target human unpredictability by creating scenarios that should be impossible to solve. But you solved them anyway, said a Malari officer. Our analysts cannot understand how your strategies worked. They violate every principle of logical combat. That was the point, Taejin said. Logic was our enemy, so we abandoned it, Admiral. Kang leaned forward. Do you understand the implications of what you did? This virus was a weapon test. Someone wanted to see if they could neutralize humanity's greatest advantage in combat. Our unpredictability, Tae-Jin said. Exactly. And you proved that even when our enemies study us for months, even when they design perfect counters to our tactics, humans can still find a way to win. The Malari officer looked confused. But how? Your species has no natural telepathy, no energy manipulation, no superior physical attributes. How do you consistently overcome opponents who should be stronger? Tae-Jin thought about the question for a moment. It was something he had been considering for months, watching his classmates struggle against alien advantages. Because we refuse to accept limitations, he said finally. Other species are what they are. Kreks are strong, so they use strength. Malari are telepathic, so they use mind powers. Forthak create energy, so they build shields. And humans? Admiral Kang asked. Humans decide what they want to be, then become that. We are not naturally strong, so we build machines to make us strong. We are not naturally telepathic, so we create communication systems that work better than telepathy. We are not naturally long-lived, so we record our knowledge and pass it on. The room was quiet as the officials considered his words. During the crisis, Tae-Jin continued, I asked alien students to fight against their nature. It should have been impossible. But they did it because humans taught them that nature is just a starting point, not a limitation. Commander Lee smiled. You have been teaching all of us, Park, even when you were sitting quietly in the back of the classroom. I was learning, Tae-Jin said. Watching, understanding how everyone thinks and fights. I could not teach anything until I understood everything. Admiral, Kang stood up. Fleet Command wants to offer you advanced placement in our strategic planning division. Your insights into multi-species tactics could revolutionize how we approach interstellar defense. Tae-Jin shook his head. Thank you, but I want to stay here and finish my training with my class. Why? The Malari officer asked, genuinely puzzled. You could accelerate your career by several years. Because my classmates are still learning, Tae-Jin said, and I am still learning from them. What happened here was not just about human unpredictability. It was about how all species can work together when they stop limiting themselves to what they think they should be. After the officials left, Sora and Tae-Jin walked to their next class. Tactical Simulation, the same class where Tae-Jin had first demonstrated his unconventional approach. Are you really going to stay? Sora asked. You could probably run the academy by now. Running things is not the same as understanding them, Tae-Jin said, and there is still a lot I want to understand. In the classroom, their instructor had prepared a new simulation. It was based on the recent crisis, designed to test how students would handle similar situations. Today we will examine unconventional warfare, the instructor announced. How do we fight when traditional tactics fail? For the first time in months, hands shot up all around the room. Alien students eager to share ideas about fighting against their natural instincts. Human students confident that their thoughts mattered. Everyone talking and learning from each other. Tae-Jin raised his hand too. Yes, Park? The instructor said with a smile. I think we should start by understanding our enemy's expectations, Tae-Jin said. Then we should do something completely different. Bora, who sat near the front of the class, turned around to look at him. What if the enemy expects us to do something different? Then we do something different from being different, Tae-Jin replied. We stay flexible until we find something that works. The class erupted in discussion as students debated the idea. Species that had rarely talked to each other were now sharing tactical theories and combat philosophies. As the conversation continued around him, Tae-Jin felt something he had never experienced before. He belonged here, not as the silent observer in the back row, but as part of a community that was learning to be more than the sum of its parts. Sora leaned over and whispered, "You know what the best part is?" "What?" "Nobody will ever underestimate humans again, or any of us really, because we learned that we do not have to be what we were born to be." Tae-Jin nodded and looked around the classroom. Alien students were teaching human students about energy manipulation. Human students were showing alien students how to think creatively. Everyone was becoming something new. We learned something else too, he said quietly. What? That being, silent is not the same as having nothing to say. Sometimes you have to watch and listen before you can speak the words that matter. The discussion in the classroom grew louder and more excited as students from different species worked together on tactical problems that had never been solved before. Tae-jin Park was no longer the silent one in class. But he would always remember that silence had taught him when and how to use his voice. And across the galaxy, other academies and military installations began adopting new training methods based on what had happened at Academy Station Kepler 7. Methods that taught all species to fight not just with their natural abilities, but with the unlimited potential that came from refusing to accept limitations. The quiet human student had found his voice, and his voice had changed everything.